Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out in this terribly hot day. We really appreciate this. There's been a great response and interest in this webinar. I'm Deborah Kagan. I'm the Executive Director of the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition, and I encourage you to put into the chat who you are and if you're with an organization or agency, put that in as well. So good morning. This is a webinar session of our SAFE Network. The SAFE Network is a new initiative for New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition this year. We are doing, it's an acronym that stands for Safe Streets Are for Everyone. And it is part of our effort to provide more resources, communication, and collaboration for all advocates of safe streets, and advocates meaning all of you who are working to make our streets safer. So we're going to do today, we have 3 presentations. The theme of today's webinar, the 3-2-1 action, is to really begin this conversation about safety plans and Vision Zero action plans, particularly how we are communicating between our counties and municipalities. This is really a new era for all of us. Jersey City and Hoboken in New Jersey have taken the lead early on to have municipal Vision Zero action plans. But now we're moving into an era where we're going to have a lot of county level plans. The last round of SS4A saw a few of the counties in New Jersey get their own plans. And there are also plans by the MPOs to work with their counties, which we're going to go through. So today, and at the end, Paul Mikowitz, hey Paul, is going to outline some of the other features of the SAFE network that we have to offer everybody. This is going to be a regular standard format. We're going to have presenters. I'm moderating the beginning. Paul's going to take Q&A. If you have questions, please put them in chat, and we'll do that. We'll do Q&A at the end, and you can also, we've got everybody. This is not a panel. Everybody will be on screen. So if you want to speak, just raise your hand at the end. Okay. And I'm going to start out. Just a reminder, we are recording this session. The session will be up on our website. We have a new part of our website called Safe Network, and there's a section for our webinars and videos. So if you have to leave early, or if you know somebody else you'd like to share this with, it will be up online probably next week. Okay, so we're gonna get going. We've got 1 hour here, and I don't want to waste anybody's time. We're going to start with our first speaker, Byron Nicholas, who is the Division Chief of Planning at Hudson County. Hudson County got a $480,000 SS4A grant to develop a safety plan for Vision Zero. So he's going to talk about that plan, what they've already started to do, how they are working with their municipalities and advocates. And I'm giving the floor or the screen over to Byron. Thank you, Byron.
All right. Thank you, Deborah. And thank you for having me and being able to share what the county is doing in regards to our Vision Zero initiative. So as Deborah mentioned, I'm Hudson County's Division Chief of Planning. And today, I'll go over a few items with you. Hopefully it will be helpful in other counties to develop their action plans. So first, I'll give some credit to my amazing team that has assisted me in this particular effort up to this point. Then I'll get into how Hudson County moves in regards to commuter patterns, and also touch on some of the reasons why we need Vision Zero within Hudson County. I'll also focus on our task force development, introduce the timeline for our initiative, and discuss some of the planner's role in regards to our Vision Zero efforts. And then at the end, I'll summarize everything, right? So as I mentioned, again, I'm Division Chief of Planning. I'm overseeing this Vision Zero initiative with our core team, with Kevin Force, who's going to be the project manager for the grant process itself. And we have our two amazing interns, Tanner and Zach, who's done an amazing job when it comes to our public education campaign. I also want to give some credit to my extended team who has done a lot of work regarding this particular initiative as well. So the County of Hudson, just want to give you guys some perspective if somehow no one knows where the county is situated in regards to the rest of New Jersey. We abut the Hudson River to the west. Typically, we show maps of roads, right? But in this case, I wanted to represent Hudson County in a different way, displaying our transit network. And the yellow lines, for example, is our bus network. The dotted red line is the PATH train. And this is to exemplify how robust we have a transit network and a transit system. And that relates to how many folks utilize our public transit network, which is approximately 37%, in which for commuter patterns, we have about 7% that walk to and from work. And just to give you guys some statistics, additional statistics, approximately 6/10 of Hudson County residents take methods other than their personal vehicles to commute to work. So that's a significant number compared to other counties throughout New Jersey, all right? And also Hudson County is the most densely populated county in the state. And according to the 2021 ACS, we have the highest amount of non-motorized commuters in the state, okay? And just to give you guys also additional statistics, Hudson County has had the 7th fewest roadway deaths out of 21 counties from 2010 to 2020, while being the 4th largest county in the population. So our goal is to reduce those roadway deaths. So according to New Jersey State Police in 2021, there were 30 fatal road crashes in Hudson County, in which 15 of those fatal road crashes were consisted of pedestrians and pedal cyclists. So again, our goal is to develop a safety action plan to in order to reduce the number of serious and fatal crashes to 0. So we are striving to be a leader for road safety in the state of New Jersey. So the county overall, we've done Vision Zero related work. For example, on River Road, you could see, well, in these two pictures, I wanted to point out that one, the bike network there is pretty much Sharrows. The bike infrastructure rather is Sharrows. And you can see on the top picture that bicyclists are not even comfortable utilizing the roadway, so they prefer to ride on the sidewalk. And then on the bottom picture, the Sharrows is, or in this case, part of the roadway on River Road. It does have a conventional bike lane, but it does not match the street classification. So I'll get more into what we have done to rectify some of these issues. But in regards to Vision Zero, we currently have a very reactive approach to roadway design as opposed to being proactive. And when it comes to law enforcement, we do lack a robust system for enforcing traffic violations. And overall, we do have a very fragmented, again, roadway design, safe systems or traditional approach to safe systems, as opposed to something that's more comprehensive. So as I mentioned with River Road, we have utilized state grant funding, New Jersey DOT bikeway grant, to rectify some of the issues along River Road. And in this case, we've submitted an application, which we've received funding to hopefully implement a protected bike lane along River Road, right? So again, because of this fragmented approach that we currently have, the county is going to implement a safety action plan, which will be steered through a Vision Zero task force. And some of those priorities for the task force is to make street design changes rather, informed by data analysis and community input. We're going to develop a high injury network. in which we will have to do as part of the grant funding, and I'll touch more about that later on. We'll focus on applying low-cost roadway safety treatments along high crash corridors. We'll implement improvements along an expanded multimodal network. We'll install new safety enhancements for pedestrians. And lastly, we'll create safe routes to school, work, and transit for people living throughout the county, but we want to prioritize underserved communities, right? So how did the county get to this point in developing or initiating the development of a safety action plan? I think this is probably one of the most important slides that I'll share with you guys. And I'll mention my role as a planner. I think a lot of people get confused about what planners do. And in this particular process, my role is to, or has been to facilitate conversations between community advocates and elected officials. It's also to share funding resources that are available and assist with consensus building. So what are the outcome of some of these objectives that I've just mentioned? So I've worked closely with NJ Bike Walk Coalition, Deborah, as well as Hudson County Complete Streets, Emmanuel Morgan, to effectively communicate a problem and a solution to elected officials. And I want to just mention, without the advocates' help, we probably would not be where we are at this time. So it's very important to work very closely with the advocates, listen to the concerns of the community members through them, and then communicate those concerns to government. And through those conversations, we've determined that USDOT's Safe Streets for All grant, the SS4A, was a perfect resource to initiate a safe systems approach addressing crash injuries and fatalities. In regards to consensus building, we're pretty much stronger in numbers. We have been and continue to attempt to reach out to different organizations and show how the Vision Zero initiative is relatable to their objectives and their goals. We're intentional about the goal of eliminating all fatalities on our roads. And I think one of the most important things is being transparent with the process and being transparent with the outcome as well. So in that case, we've applied. I would say, we've had the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition and Hudson County Complete Streets help communicate our concerns to the commissioners, the Board of County Commissioners, in which we were able to apply for grant funding for USDOT Safe Streets for All. I believe it was fiscal year 2022 at that time. And we've received the support letters from these different organizations, including Bike JC, Bike North Bergen, Bike Hoboken, Safe Streets JC, and then of course some from our municipalities as well, including the mayor offices of Hoboken, Harrison, Union City, Jersey City, and North Bergen, as well as our MPO, who has been a great supporter as well, North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority. And as you guys may already know, the total grant award is $600,000, in which $480,000 has been awarded to us for direct costs towards consultant services, and in which $120,000 are for in-kind contributions, in which our staff will contribute to that. So to give you guys an idea of the timeline, we initiated the process in the winter of 2023, earlier this year, where we've actually received notice that we've received the funds or the award. In the spring of 2023, our administration, the county administration, had started to organize a Vision Zero task force. In the summer of 2023, I had initiated a public education campaign, which I'll get a bit more into in the presentation. And later this fall, we'll conduct qualitative and quantitative data analysis, including a more robust public involvement process, and in which from that data, we will develop a high injury network and draft safety action plan. And we hope to have everything finalized by spring of 2024, where we will seek implementation funds from USDOT's Safe Streets for All discretionary grant program, right? So in regards to the task force development, we are still in the process of developing the task force, but at this time, we do have confirmation for representatives from numerous county officials, so different departments throughout the county. We'll have 2 state agency representatives, 2 regional agency representatives, an official from each municipality, and 2 advocacy group representatives. So we intend to meet once a week. Meet once a month. We'll review work products. The task force will provide and assess qualitative and quantitative data, in which qualitative data will be very important, especially as the representatives know what the problem area, where the problem areas are, and they can communicate that to the safety action plan. They'll also share updates on local projects which may affect traffic safety, share best practices, distribute public outreach materials, and share updates on implementation of action plans. So our relationship with our municipalities, it differentiates. For example, Jersey City and Hoboken, as you guys already know, have their municipal Vision Zero action plans. The county has jurisdiction over, of course, county roads within those municipalities. So we do intend to further engage with those municipalities to address concerns on county roads. The high injury network, according to USDOT, FHWA, we have to analyze the county's entire network. That includes municipal, state, and of course, county roads. And lastly, we will do outreach that will include other municipalities as well. And we will encourage rather other municipalities to adopt their own action plans. So I'm just going to share with you guys what we've done so far in the summertime. Again, we're in the phase where we want to disseminate as much information as possible to the public. So you'll see a lot of these brochures, flyers, social media campaigns that my team has done an amazing job in-house to develop. And we have done tabling at municipal events across the county, including concerts, farmers markets, movie nights in the park, street festivals. We're continuously doing canvassing, spreading posters, and connecting with different business owners and nonprofit groups. Again, we work very closely with Hudson County Complete Streets, I Love Greenville, for example, John Randy Foundation. We've met with all the above, including Hudson TMA, who is a critical partner in disseminating our information. And social media campaign, as well as public meetings with county officials. In this case, we've done one in Jersey City, focusing on Journal Square, addressing Vision Zero related questions. I have about 2 more slides. So I just want to share with you guys this document from USDOT, Promising Practices for Meaningful Public Involvement in Transportation Decision-Making. This is, I think, a really good document from USDOT and how we can involve the public and further engage with them when it comes to transportation-related initiatives, including Vision Zero. So we do intend to follow some of these guidelines, as well as other literature reviews out there when it comes to public involvement for our Vision Zero strategy. And then lastly, we want everyone to get involved. If you know of any problem areas within Hudson County when it comes to our local street network, please feel free to reach out to us. There's a QR code in which you can scan your phone, and it'll let you sign up to our Vision Zero webpage. And that's pretty much it. Thank you, guys. Back to you, Deborah.
Thank you, Byron. That was terrific. A lot of information. And again, I'm reminding everybody, because I know sometimes it's hard to absorb everything in one sitting. We will have a recorded version of this up with all of the slides from our presenters on our website. So next, we're going to introduce Alan Huff from SJTPO. So SJTPO has been building off the success of the Cumberland County Safety Action Plan and plans to expand it out to the 4 counties in their catchment area. And just so everybody knows, SJTPO and Alan Huff in particular, working with a safety action plan with Byron, one of their municipalities, were able to secure the only implementation plan from SS4A in the last round for $20 million. So, Alan, the screen is yours.
All right, thank you very much. Well, thanks for having me here. Really glad to be talking about what we've got going on here. As Deborah mentioned, we kind of are building off of the success of the Cumberland County Bike Ped Safety Action Plan. This effort expands the view across our 4 counties and also broadens it. It's not just about bike ped, it's about everything as guided by safety data. All right. So very briefly, I just wanted to make sure everyone's oriented to the region that we cover. We serve Atlantic, Cape May, Cumberland, and Salem counties in the south here in blue. Our region is small and rural by New Jersey standards, but our population roughly triples in the summer. And during the summer, if our region were a state, it would actually be the 3rd densest state in the country. So, with that, you can appreciate that, we deal with urban issues, we deal with rural issues. Sometimes we deal with both of them in the same place at different times of the year. I'll also note that we have 68 municipalities. This means on average fewer than 8,700 year-round residents each. This translates to a lot of municipalities that don't have adequate in-house staff to do that in-house planning work. And a lot of them rely on consultant planners and engineers. So this is a challenge that we have to be mindful of as we move forward with any of our work. So I wanted to touch on our motivations going into this effort. Roadway deaths are particularly high in our region, with about 15 per 100,000 residents. So that's more than double the state average, which is just over 6. Most fatal and serious injury crashes are on local roads. So to make a difference, we need to make sure the counties and municipalities are involved. Local road safety plans are a proven safety countermeasure. Given the results that you can see here, you can understand why. Finally, I'd be remiss not to mention funding. While local jurisdictions are largely interested in the opportunities that having an LRSP opens up in terms of funding, we're also particularly interested in seeing their current funding streams be utilized better in improving safety while they use them for other things like repaving or streetscaping. A few high points here. We call our plans countywide, which includes both county and municipal jurisdictions. As seems to be the standard, the plans will cover a 5-year period. The plans are data-driven, to identify the issues and improvements, and these will be opened up for feedback, but I do want to emphasize that it really is data that drives these plans. Safe system approach is the framework that guides our process, and it's important that the plans include all the right stakeholders from engineering, education, enforcement, emergency services, and are inclusive of equity issues. When covering a large, diverse area like ours, we also need to be deliberate to address urban, rural, suburban, and in our area, short areas, as each one of those areas has unique challenges. And lastly, I'll just say that these plans are a great opportunity for communities to address safety in a meaningful way and to line up with funding opportunities, which is, really what a lot of our jurisdictions like. Very briefly, these efforts include a lot of partners. We have steering committees in each county, which include county and municipal stakeholders that represent our E's. Our broader stakeholders are similar, but a much larger pool of folks. We anticipate focus teams on special issues and areas so we can customize the plans to the diversity of the region, while acknowledging that we have 68 municipalities, countless neighborhoods and communities, and we need to keep this manageable. We're also involving elected officials based on guidance from our steering committee. So our team, led by SJTPO and GPI and their team, is in charge of really doing the heavy lifting, led by the steering committees and the data. So our timeline is centered around our workshops, which is shown here. I won't cover all of this, but I'll highlight a couple of points. We recently identified our emphasis areas, which I will show. We finalized our network data collection list, which is substantial and allows collection to begin now. In the winter and spring, we'll begin working on the investment strategy, and public outreach will be conducted to look at investments in the spring and summer of next year. So I wanted to share with you the emphasis areas that have been selected in each county. While the steering committees review and give feedback into this, in each county, they chose the top crash types in each of their counties based on the data. So we were really excited about this. These things are being chosen based on, what the data shows are the main issues, not based on opinions or politics. They're not necessarily shown in any order on this list. I'll just note that the idea of an LRSP is not to be exhaustive, and that exhaustive can actually be a bad thing because the objective is to prioritize our focus and our limited resources to the worst offenders in terms of safety. And then, in 5 years or so, we'll come back. We can reassess those priorities at that time. So I wanted to point out that this process also includes a massive data collection effort. So what you see here is a list of adjusted data collection elements that we're looking at. So once we're done, nearly every data element here will be available on both county and municipal roadways in each of our counties and municipalities. We're still working on a mechanism to make the data available to counties and municipalities. But in addition to our safety work, we hope the data will have value in many other planning efforts. Several of these will be used by us in our active transportation master plan, which will be advertised in the fall and will begin next year. So while local road safety plans include many elements, one piece I wanted to highlight was the engineering component of the investment strategy. So the hotspot approach is the process everyone's familiar with. You look for locations where a lot of crashes are happening, figure out why they're happening, and you fix the problem. It's logical, it's targeted, works pretty well, and we're going to keep doing that. However, as some of you may have noticed, you can go out and spend a lot of money to fix one location. Great project, but your overall numbers don't really get any better. And sometimes you find yourself chasing the worst location around from year to year. So with a systemic approach, we say, okay, rather than simply reacting to crashes from the past, let's anticipate the crashes in the future. In this approach, we look at crashes system-wide, determine the geometric roadway characteristics associated with those crashes, then expand and look at all locations with those characteristics, make generally low-cost improvements over a large number of roadways at a time. It's incredibly effective, and both approaches will be part of our LRSP investment strategy. So each of our counties agreed that the vision was zero. Each of our counties wanted to get farther along in the process, and particularly look at the investment strategy before finalizing any kind of annual targets or goals. And then that investment strategy is a major action element coming from this effort later in our timeline, as I said earlier, next year. As I mentioned earlier, our aim from the beginning has been for these plans to serve municipalities as well as the counties, as most of our municipalities are too small to support in-house planning or engineering staff. It's important that these processes serve those jurisdictions and be done in a data-driven way. To date, all but 7 of our 68 municipalities have been represented in some manner in our process, including steering committee meetings. We had a workshop. Several of those were consultants. About half of them were in-house public staff. A couple of those consultants covered multiple municipalities at a time. We've been very deliberate about both including municipalities as well as offering value to municipalities. So the network screening, the data collection effort, the systemic analysis, the investment strategy, they're all key elements that will fully include municipalities and will provide benefit. We hope will provide benefit. That's the goal. In addition, the implementation phase of the work in year 3 will likely benefit the municipalities the most. Deborah gave us a lot of really great questions as we went into this. And one of the things was about cross-county collaboration. So, one of the things here is that, we're being very deliberate about, keeping these plans separate because, we want to make sure that it's clear that these aren't SJTPO plans, that these are really locally owned and locally led. That said, we've discussed that there'll be value in having certain breakout groups that might cross county lines to have a larger pool of people sharing their knowledge. Could be focused around areas like urban, suburban, rural, and shore areas. They could be around certain topics like emphasis areas. What I'll just say is that, our framework is in place and we know, generally how we're proceeding through this process, but we're maintaining the greatest deal of flexibility that we can, so that, as issues arise, as we notice commonalities among our counties, because we're doing all 4 of these at the same time, we can adjust and make sure that everybody's getting the best value out of this, and we're all working together and informing each other. So I'll just also mention that as an MPO, our closest relationships are with our counties, and they also have close relationships with one another, both independently and through us. So, in addition to formal coordination, there may be more informal coordination that takes place behind the scenes as well. So the bulk of this effort is a data-driven one. Its focus is on guiding safety advancement based on the safety needs as they exist, based on severe injuries and crashes in particular. To date, municipal and county stakeholders have helped inform determinations, particularly that the data are valid. They've spoken to the experiences that the jurisdictions have had in the past, have informed assessments of their institutional capacity and experience. They bring diverse parties together in the spirit of sharing experiences, coordinating resources, and then ultimately advancing the recommendations. However, the plans are really data-driven. Sorry about that. That said, much of the work in the first 10 months has been about setting the table. We've assembled and analyzed data. We're beginning to collect additional data now. We're looking at the data to agree on where resources will be focused. Public and stakeholder outreach is currently slotted for early spring of next year, which will be about informing the investment strategy, which is a major area where kind of the rubber will meet the road on these plans. So until that time, interested parties can sign up for one of our mailing lists. We have one for each of our counties, provide updates on the process, as well as information about training opportunities, and we'll share information about input opportunities as they come along. We see implementation to be a little less like the state's SHSP, which is about maintaining a large number of groups and planning activities. And here it's going to be more about project advancement. So what we currently envision is our consultant team on board for another year, year 3, to support counties and especially municipalities in improving project scopes to be more inclusive of substantive safety and to assist in developing applications and any requisite materials. Caveat is that the projects need to be safety focused, but they can be about adding safety to more typical repaving types of work through municipal aid or other sources. So we're hoping to show that with our 3rd year of implementation that this is support that is needed and valuable. And then the next step is how to continue to provide what I think will be very valuable support. I'll note that SJTPO currently offers this kind of support through the local safety program, but we don't have the resources to offer this for other projects. So in terms of how municipalities can build off of and advance the countywide plans, first we need to keep everyone participating now. It's important that they bring their issues to the table as we develop the plans. We also need them to be present now so that we can appropriately scope the implementation phase, so we have the resources to help them in a way that serves their needs. We're conducting a safe system assessment of 4 county and 12 municipal plans. We'll offer specific feedback on how those specific plans can be strengthened, but also using them, we'll be able to offer guidance to all municipalities on how master plans can better address safety. So taking that feedback into account during your next master plan updates is important. We're already sharing safety-related training opportunities with counties and municipalities, so participating in those is important. Ultimately, what we really need is for municipalities as well as counties to incorporate substantive safety into their regular projects and to understand that meeting minimum design standards is not the same as designing a safe roadway. Finally, we want them to be able to utilize this as a resource. We hope the plans in this process will help secure funds for safety improvements. We hope they'll seek SS4A supplemental funds if they're so inclined to expand on what we develop, but at the least to incorporate what we develop into projects. We also hope they'll take advantage of data we're collecting, which can be useful for safety work and all of their other work as well. So we really tried our best to orient this large effort around what could bring value to both counties and municipalities. So the best thing anyone can do is use it. The question was asked of us, what other funding strategies should we be looking at to support these plans and proposed implementation projects? And the answer really has to be all the above. So there are a lot of different kinds of safety funds, and those funds are growing, and that's good, but it still represents a very small percentage of transportation dollars. Every project that doesn't actively address safety, that only satisfies our pretty outdated minimum current standards, is really making the problem of safety worse. And we won't get there if we spend $1 on safety and then spend $10 leaving other safety problems on our roadways. All right, and that's all I have. Again, I just wanted to thank you for having me here and listening to me to tell you about what's going on in SJTPO. Got my contact information here, and here's some of the websites that I talked about. And I'll hand it back.
Thank you, Ellen. Just leave that up for 1 second in case people
Sure.
want to get down, that information down. That was terrific, really. There's an amazing amount of resources that both you and Byron have just showed us. So our third speaker is Mike Dannemiller, who is the supervising engineer for Middlesex County in the Office of Planning. And Middlesex County has the honor of being the first county in New Jersey who passed a Vision Zero plan. So Mike, the screen is now yours.
You got it, Mike.
Sorry about that.
There you go.
Thanks, Deb. I think that's hopefully looking a little better. I'm glad
That's
I'm among
looking
so
good,
many
Mike.
friends. It's just wonderful to see, not just a BPAC earlier this week, but so many people who have done so much in support of Vision Zero across our state, throughout the region. I'm going to share a little bit about what we put together, and really, we did put this plan together, our Middlesex County's Vision Zero action plan last year, and we had a lot of help. Rutgers University, Voorhees Transportation Center staff, NV5 consultants were on board to help out, but the lion's share of that plan really came together from Marjorie Mascarenas and Jasmine Grossman. They both moved on to other opportunities. So, hey, folks, be on the lookout for job postings for Middlesex County. If you like what I'm about to show, please know that we're going to have some opportunities right here in the transportation mobility section of the Office of Planning here at Middlesex County. Enough commercial. Let's talk about what we've actually come to talk about here. Folks have seen traditional approach versus Vision Zero. And Will Yarzab, I know you're on the call. I know you've pointed out, hey, we've got nowhere to go but up, and we get that. And like Alan was saying, we're making sure things are data-driven, and humans are not perfect, and that imperfection should not be fatal. That's really what all this boils down to. What we've done over here at Middlesex County, we put together a pledge that the county commissioners adopted last summer. We did kick this off, a whole year ago. We put together a Vision Zero partnership. And like Byron was just saying, making sure we had, and for us, 25 municipalities, we made sure we had major representation and building consensus, participation from every one of our municipalities. And since then, that's something we're working on. But we've got both the Vision Zero action plan, and then we've got our Forward Together plan and our Invest Smart and Bike Easy, Walk Safely and a Greenways plan. And all these things we're doing hand in hand with our municipalities. So whether it's on state system, county system, or municipal system, roadways and other areas, we're working together to make sure everything comes together. Having a pledge, keeping it short and simple, makes it really easy to include. And we're making sure that we put this on every document, every plan. I mean, we're doing a traffic signal master plan that you wouldn't think would be a big deal, but we're making sure you open that inside cover. Our Vision Zero pledge is at the top of mind for everything that we're doing. So anything that we're moving forward is going to help dig us out of the hole. That's probably not the nicest way to say it, but we're at the bottom of the list, or the highest list per capita. You know, we've got a lot of crashes, so we've got a lot to do. That's part of why I'm here and doing what we do. Our Vision Zero partnership. There's a leadership committee, and then there's culture of safety, and there's complete streets working group. So one more on culture, one more on the nitty gritty, the nuts and bolts of getting things done. And you can see our plan. It's available online. Everybody wants to see details of it. And one thing that we heard, flash forward to, we put in a Safe Streets for All application. We went big last year. We weren't as lucky as Alan was. One of the things we heard, we weren't incredibly specific on an individual project, but we followed the safe system approach really well. And the folks giving us feedback from Federal Highway, they said that was really good. So if there's anything you were going to mirror, you know, I say imitation is your highest form of flattery. There's one thing we've really got right. Take a look at the structure in our Vision Zero action plan on how we followed the safe system approach. We heard some good feedback about that. And making sure that we had everybody on board. Getting people together on screen's wonderful, but when you can face to face, that's just great. And that really has worked well for us. And we structured it: safe road users, safe vehicles, post-crash care. Hey, there we go. Safe roads. Okay. A lot of us know that's bread and butter for many of us, but safe speed, making sure that we're managing that both on the passive side and actively, making sure we're really doing that. And what that lets us do is define our own success. A lot of people on this list probably know things like level of service. Hey, I talked level of service for a lot of years and said, hey, we don't want a delayed based analysis. We want a report card that says, hey, we need very little delay. And that was really important, but maybe something like no more deaths, no more serious injuries. If you're not measuring it, it doesn't count. If you're not counting it, it doesn't count. So being able to drive fast for a little while, I think, is no news to people on this webinar, that may not be the only thing that you should be defining. So making sure that, and it goes for every project, and we are being very opportunistic. Everything from our big picture planning to our Department of Public Works, our Office of Public Works, when we're doing repaving, those are opportunities. We got a clean palette. There's a canvas there, and we can put back those stripes any way we want for no extra dollars. So we're making sure that crash reduction is at the top of mind, not just level of service. Folks have seen versions of these. Okay, bike and ped crashes are a small percentage of overall crashes, but when you look at it for fatal and serious injury crashes, it's not 2%, it's almost a quarter. And so what are we doing to take care of those folks? And I say the we is everybody. When we look at fatal and serious crashes by jurisdiction, hey, states in there, Garden State Parkway and Turnpike, you know, we are the middle of New Jersey. It's not just Middlesex County. That gives us a perspective. Our perspective is Middlesex year kind of perspective here in the middle of the state. And we know, about 30% of the crashes are on our roadways, but they're all in our area. And so we want to work together with our municipalities and the state to prevent as many of these things as we possibly can. As Alan was saying about data, mapping these things really makes it really simple. And we had help, but we got some great mapping when we looked at fatal crashes, and we had hotspots, and we looked at serious injury crashes, and we had even more because, well, I guess sort of thankfully, not that many of the crashes are fatal. And then we could take a look at where there's clusters, and we can also look specifically about the bicycle crashes and the pedestrian crashes. And we see, consistent themes that New Brunswick area, Perth Amboy area, there's a lot going on there. So focusing investment there sort of makes sense. But before we make final decisions on where we're going to target our dollars, put our money where our mouth is, we took a hard look at that high injury network. Okay, that gives you one part of the equation, but then we overlaid that with indicators of potential disadvantage. And we could have just run with the high level federal designations, but it wasn't that sensitive for our county. So we boiled it down to above or below average of indicators of potential disadvantage and overlaid that with our high injury network. And with that, you can really see where most of the crashes happening and where the neighborhoods that need the most help. And with that data-driven information behind us, we can really help to inform our decisions and target who needs the most help, where we get the most bang for the buck. And that plays well with all the conversation, all the dialogue, how to say streets for all, because really our target is zero. And when we say, what's success going to look like? I mean, to me, well, I'd love to have a crash map that was blank. All right. And how do we get there? We get there through safer streets, safer speeds, and that'll help to have safer road users. But there's a whole lot of distracted driving for lots of reasons that I think is going to be a big push coming up. And safer vehicles. I mean, I'm hearing things about crash safety analyses that your Ram pickup truck and a Mazda Miata might not have the same inertia. If crashes happen from each vehicle, maybe they have different impact on, say, a toddler walking on the street. Maybe some vehicles that are inherently more dangerous will be viewed differently. I think that's something that's coming up, but your crystal ball is probably at least as good as mine on that one. But post-crash care does make a huge difference. And then that focus on equity. And for us, we're really looking at making that be data-driven. Our relationships, Byron was bringing this up, making sure you're working with everybody. Everybody's got a seat at the table and two-way conversations. It's not just design, advertise, defend, dad approach to things. Really make sure that you're having those conversations. And that goes to all this community engagement because it matters. And you want to build consensus. Make sure you're talking with people, not talking at people. Deb, I went a little bit under because I was going off script, but with that is the majority of my presentation. And with that, I'd open up to any conversation, any questions. And Deb, I think that's for all of us. Here's my contact info over here at Middlesex County, and I will stop my screen share.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
That was terrific. Just before we go to Q&A, we have Lois Goldman from NJTPA here, who is going to just take a minute to update everybody on what NJTPA is doing. And before Lois speaks, I just want to thank everybody for asking about the acronyms in the chat and answering that. And I will remember to do this in the beginning and when I talk to speakers in the future. This forum is an orientation for all people, many of whom are advocates and are not professional transportation planners and may not be familiar with the many acronyms that there are in this field. So to start that out, Lois, you can start out by explaining NJTPA very quickly.
Sure, great. And we are the Metropolitan Planning Organization for Northern New Jersey. I saw that. Thank you for that question in the chat. And if you go to our website, njtpa.org, you can learn a lot about us. By the way, we do have an acronym guide online that you can download, so that might be helpful. I don't want to take a lot of time. I just want to let you know that, like South Jersey, the effort that Alan is already well into, we are going to be launching a local safety action plan initiative for the 8 of our 13 counties that did not apply for and receive grants to do their own. Well, actually, Middlesex already had theirs, so there were 4 counties that got grants. So we'll be working with 8 counties that we hope to be kicking off sometime this fall, early this fall. We're in consultant selection right now. And also, I just wanted to let you know that we are going to be hosting a series of webinars this fall on conducting local safety action plans. We're doing this in partnership with the Federal Highway, New Jersey Division, as well as the Resource Center in Washington, D.C. So that will be very shortly on our website. I believe the first one is September 14th. And then the next one's about 2 weeks later. And then the third one is about a month after that. And those are open to everyone. So you will be hearing more about that. And I look forward to continuing to participate in this group and to keeping you updated on what we're doing. Thank you so much, Deborah. Well, Deborah, you're on mute. I'm sorry.
You'd think I'd learn after all this time, right? I'm at the beach, so I'm busy. You can see from the background. I'm going to turn this over to Paul. Are there any questions in the chat? If not, I have a few we can start out with. Paul, do you see?
Yeah,
any?
I want to address the questions that came up in the chat. So Byron, if you want to just address those two.
Yeah, absolutely. So the timeline in the presentation reflects the timeline post being awarded by FHWA. However, there is a point that the advocacy efforts did start, I would say 6 months prior. So in the late summer, fall of 2022. So yeah, and also I believe there was a question about
State agencies.
And currently we have unconfirmed at this time, but NJDOT, we would love to have their participation on the task force. We're in the works of, having a representative from that agency. I think one of the issues is capacity. So NJDOT and many other state level agencies, they may be trying to address task force representation for different counties. So how can they, they're probably figuring out what capacity they have. And that's why perhaps that's unconfirmed at this time. But we also have NJ Bike Walk Coalition. And again, as a state represented, well, not represented, but state level advocacy group, we have them under the state level of representation, right?
Great, thank you. And Alan, I shared that question with you. There were a couple questions, but one about the path coming in the northern part of the county and maybe going through some sensitive areas. If you could address that.
Yeah, so there was a question about the Upper Township, Cape May County path. So it's definitely unrelated to this. There is a separate feasibility study going on right now about that. There was some very localized opposition, particularly in one neighborhood about going through their area. So we're kind of working through that. I think there was a comment in there about, boardwalk through sensitive environmental areas. The only thing I can say about that is that's what you have to do if you go through the sensitive environmental areas. It can't really be your default expectation to go through sensitive areas just so you can build a boardwalk. So, we're having conversations with, U.S. Fish and Wildlife and others. And if, we go there, we have to really exhaust all other options first. But that'll be, on the table. Questions specifically about this presentation, if trails and greenways would be part of the plan. I would say that, we're following the data. So, we're not to that part yet. I think, we'll have to kind of take a deliberate look because, the data are obviously oriented towards roadways. So we'll have to be cognizant of that. And the second was if designs were anticipated based on both safety and encouragement. So I mean, everything's on the table and, we're cognizant of all the E's here. it was kind of my natural tendency to gravitate in my discussion probably towards the planning and engineering stuff. I think that, I mean, that's, I'm wearing my bias hat right there. But we have all the different, folks on our steering committees and, at the workshops. And I know that, my consultant team will do a better job than I did in this presentation of, not focusing exclusively, sorry about that, on engineering and planning, which I clearly did. But that is stuff that will be, a part of the plan.
And Anil, I just want to follow up with something I think you alluded to, and that is identifying improvements to areas that are not simply the high injury networks or the crash corridors that are at the top of the list, but more at the bottom of the list that might help create some more attractive routes for people and sort of helping the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, and that's really important in our region in particular, because because so many of our roads are lower volume roads. We have a lot fewer locations that just have consistently high crash numbers. We have a little bit more of a whack-a-mole problem. And so, that's really where that systemic analysis comes into play. That's going to be a huge part of this effort. It's a key component to any good LRSP. We're definitely going to be employing that here. And that's the kind of work that, does a better job for those low volume roads where you're going to see a crash. Maybe it just hasn't happened in the last 3 years of crash data. So that's definitely going to be a key component.
Great, thank you. And Michael, were you raising your hand there?
Oh, yeah, I was just want to reinforce what Alan said. The whack-a-mole process, love the game on the boardwalk, hate it with transportation safety projects. And while Middlesex County is prioritizing high injury network in areas that indicator high above average, indicator of potential disadvantage, there's also a lot of systemic countywide, what I was talking about with repaving, that goes every project we're touching. We're trying to be as opportunistic as we can, because a lot of things you can do on the cheap, just putting paint back better. That is universal. That's anywhere we possibly can.
Great, thank you. Thank you. So that addresses the questions I had in the chat. Is there anyone that has another question? Laszlo, I see you literally raising your hand.
Literally. This is a little bit off subject from what has just been discussed. It has to do with the new Greenway, the Wooden Line Greenway. And I just saw something regarding, I guess, creating a new link to the stadium for the World Cup, which would be utilizing part of that Greenway. Have you seen that?
No.
Yes,
I've not.
yes.
To connect
Yes.
Secaucus to the Meadowlands.
Yeah,
And-
that's called the Transit Ways and Innovation Challenge that was put out for a proposal from New Jersey Transit. Leslie, I'm from Montclair. I'm happy to talk about you with this offline because we're almost
Okay.
at our hour, but
Sure.
I'd be happy to fill you in on that, the details of it
Okay.
later. It's a bit more of a conversation, so.
Yes.
Um,
Stephen Dunn.
Hey, how you doing? Just a thought to share and a question to ask as far as the whack-a-mole process. And I saw that Jim kind of said something in the comments here. The constituents would love to see fix this now. And I think maybe we can keep it in mind as a way to demonstrate what really needs to be done, which is infrastructure improvements. We can do the low-cost stuff with paint and everything. But if and when something comes up that is high visibility and people want it fixed and fixed now, it could be an opportunity for all of us to show the best practices in infrastructure improvements as opposed to just repainting and more signage. So just a thought to share and see what you thought of it.
Well,
Thank you.
and speaking for us, I mean, as I mentioned in their hotspot or whack-a-mole, we're going to be doing that as well as the systemic. You really want both because, I mean, what you really don't want to do is literally the whack-a-mole, but I mean, we have a network screening list. We're doing analysis through the plans. We've had a couple of previous iterations of the network screening list. So, it's easy to see when you have consistently problematic locations, and those are really the ideal spots for the higher cost, hotspot projects. And then, trying to be cognizant of where you are seeing whack-a-mole. It's high this year, it was low last year. Those are good locations to take a look and see how that systemic might play out in addressing those kinds of locations. So it's,
Great.
Try to hit the hotspot without getting caught in the whack-a-mole game. It's a fine line. It's balance for sure.
So I
Thank
have,
you.
If
I
I
have
can
one
jump in,
last-
because I started that little bit. Yeah, and having these tools is, just like Stephen said, this is a process that we follow in order to make sure that we're doing things in a systematic way. Is good to tell our constituents, say, yes, we recognize there's a problem here. We can do some interim things, but there is a process that we're following, and it's in there somewhere, just so that then they are educated on how we're trying to get to Vision Zero. Sorry for jumping in.
Thank you. Thank you. Deborah,
it's okay. Yeah, we're headed out.
time.
Hour here. Yeah, I just wanted, I'd like to finish the questions with one question I have for each of the speakers to very briefly answer. And then Paul, I'm going to turn it back to you to give a little more detail on some of the other activities we have for the Safe Network. So my
Yes.
final question for the speakers is, if you, as an advocate who wants to get involved in this process, can you each just briefly talk about what's the best way for an advocate, a local advocate, to do that right now? Alan, you want to start?
Sure. So I shared, there was a QR code in the presentation, and a link to the website. saferoadssouthjersey.com is the website. So you can go on there. I think there's a get involved button. You can add yourself to the mailing list, and we'll reach out to you when we have outreach activities, but we'll also share information about the project as it goes. Today, we don't have any public activities going on, that we're anticipating those for the beginning of next year. But just paying attention to what's going on in your municipalities, in your counties. Are they including safety in new projects you're seeing on the ground? If not, ask the questions.
Thanks. And
Thank you.
Byron?
Yeah, so there's two ways. I believe I've touched on them in the presentation, but I'll share the link to the Vision Zero webpage via the chat. And that's for our upcoming public engagement or public involvement process. So as an advocate, we more than welcome, your opinions or your thoughts on, again, different corridors or intersections that are problematic. And secondly, through the task force, we have designated, I believe, 2 positions under advocacy for representation. So we intend for those positions to be rotative. So within the perhaps 1 or 2 years, again, the executive order is still under a draft. It's still in draft mode rather, and we will specify those specifics as we go on. But we'll definitely have representation on our task force for community advocate groups.
Thank you. And Mike?
Sure. I've got 3 ideas. The metropolitan planning organizations, and Alan works at the one down south, but Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, and North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority, SJTPO, they've got great newsletters. They've got great resources, and you can peek at their websites, top level, and sign up for those newsletters. Second thing, there's other newsletters, like one of the big advocates, Bernie Wagonblast, does a weekly thing that is just fabulous. It covers all modes of transportation, all kinds of safety things. I would suggest looking up their site and take a look. We don't have to reinvest and go digging. People are already doing those things for us. And on the social media side, there are some blogs that are just fabulous. One of the guys we just heard from a minute ago, he's the biking fireman. I don't know if y'all recognized him, but Stephen Dunn is the biking fireman. And his blogs, sometimes I think he's a little rough on people who want to put signs out there, but 99% of the time I'm on board with them. And, following those things. There are people who have a lot of passion and a lot of background, and we shouldn't all be yelling into the wind when we could all be singing from the same song sheet. So take advantage of the resources that are right under your nose.
Thank you. So I want to thank the three of you. Really, really terrific presentations, an amazing amount of information. Again, we will be putting up a recording of this session on our website. And I've seen in the chat, there's a request to have PDFs so people can share it with their local municipalities or elsewhere, and we'll try to do that as well. So I did see that. Thank you very much for asking about that. We're going to close out. I'm going to give this over and thank you all for coming out in the middle of the summer, in the middle of the day. I'm going to give this over to Paul to just briefly tell you a little bit more about the SAFE network and what we have to offer.
Great. Thank you very much, Deborah. And again, thank you to the panel. So in addition to these monthly webinar meetings, we also have some other elements. We're building out our website. So we have a new tab here. It's still under construction. And right next to the New Jersey Safe Passing Law, you will see the SAFE network. And similar to the New Jersey Safe Passing Law, there will soon be a drop-down menu with a lot of different tools. So people asking for how can we, what kind of tools can we use? There'll be a whole toolbox there of things to add, but I will slide down just a little bit. So what this network is also including is opportunities to meet one-on-one. I will also be conducting weekly meetings, trainings, kind of an overview of that tool set. So an opportunity to get a walkthrough on what tools are available and how to get to them easier, because some of these sites can be overwhelming. And in addition, I am still booking some workshops on the bike workshops. I can bring this to your community. So if you have an interest in having a smart cycling workshop in your town, I am happy to work with you to bring one to your town. And what we do is we work in the parking lot for a session and get people through some bike handling skills. And then we actually go out on the roadways so people can become more comfortable riding in their own local roadways. And it can be a real game changer for people. So, and again, so weekly virtual live classrooms, by appointment, we can do some consultation, walk through if that weekly meeting on Fridays at noon doesn't work, and then on the bike workshop. So that is available to people. I'm still filling up the schedule. So let me know if you're interested. My contact information is there. And again, thank you everyone for participating, coming in. And as Mike said, it's just a great group of people. Always enjoy working with all of you on this. Deborah, you're muted still.
Thanks everybody for coming out. We will be doing another session at the end of August and then one in September. We alternate between more presentation format and more discussion format. So we'll be reaching out to all of you with the theme for the end of August forum. Thank you again. Hope everybody's having a happy summer. Stay cool today.
Stay cool.
And we'll see you soon. Thanks again. And again, thanks to our panelists. Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Are folks staying around to ask some questions? I see some people still staying on. I haven't closed it out yet.
My guess is they might just still be, may have walked away,
Okay.
but, or slowly closing out. So, I will save, before you close it out,
Mhm.
are you able to save the chat?
I thought it was saved in the recording. Is that a separate save?
Oh, no, I guess, good question. I think the recording actually just shows what's on screen. So, there is the little, here we go, down at the bottom here, save chat.
Oh, where's that?
If you go all the way to the bottom where if you were going to respond to a chat, you'll see the little edit pencil, smiley face, and then 3 dots at the very bottom. And if
Yep.
you click on the 3 dots, you'll see save chat as an option.
And I just
Um,
saved it.
There you go. So we can get that to Revathy and she can,
Okay,
uh,
that is now saved in our Zoom.
great. So, great turnout, really good
Yeah, almost 100
presentations and
people showed up.
yeah. So great job. And
Yeah, great
I,
job to you too.
I thank you. I take it, you were not able to get a hold of Leanne?
I did actually get a hold of
Oh.
Leanne.
Oh.
I did. We didn't have time. I should have told you that in the pre. I told her our idea. She likes the idea, but she did not want to commit until she talked to Sean because they're setting up, so they have 3 or 4 webinars on Safe Routes to School funding coming up in September. She thought it wouldn't be a problem. I said I thought it would be a great sort of lead into that for
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
But
deeper
she
dive.
just didn't want to commit till she talked to him. So I think it's a good possibility, but she's going to talk to Sean and then get back to us.
Great. Okay.
Okay.
And I did confirm with Sean, he is handling now the crossing guard training. So actually Andre and I are both going to be going through that. Annie
Oh,
wants to
very
go through
cool.
that as well.
I just
And,
realized I'm supposed to be in another
Jump.
Zoom call, so I'm going to jump.
okay,
I'll talk
jump,
to you later.
and have a good afternoon. And I'm sure we'll be talking.
Thanks very much, Paul. I thought it was great.
Take care. Thank you.